Joining me very shortly. Oh, there he is right there.
Is this too early?
No, we're perfect down here.
Thank you guys for coming. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Everybody mind your business while everybody figures out how to get in the director's chair. Gore has way more experience with this than I do.
I never use them. I'm standing the whole time.
It's fair, because they're terrible. But this one didn't try to kill me, and it's actually static. We did it. We've missed you. It's been almost a decade. Welcome back.
Thank you.
So, before we get started, given how long it's been, what drew you to Matt's script?
I think when I first read it, the opening monologue scared the shit out of me. So I knew I had to do it. It's not normal to start your movie with an 11-page monologue. So I immediately started recording it, putting myself to sleep, re-recording it, editing it, then rehearsing with Sam, then plotting it out, then kind of breaking it down into kind of chapters, and blocking it, building a set around it just to keep him moving. We have a thing called a dance floor, which is perfectly flat floor, and you don't have to lay a dolly track, so you can keep shooting really quickly, and he was wearing sort of 40 pounds of electronics, so we just, you finish the setup, and he's like, can I take this thing off? Because usually it's 15 minutes to realize, like, oh, we're ready, let's go. We just keep moving, so that his tempo and kind of energy is present through the whole performance.
Yeah, we love the be scared but do it anyway energy there. So seeing this film at Fantastic Fest was such a joy. The energy was so high. This is a film that really benefits from the theatrical experience and the communal aspects of it, because there are a lot of moments where you're like, do I laugh at that? Like, not that it's not funny, but like you're dealing with really difficult subject matter here. So with that in mind, and with how important the theatrical experience is, was it difficult, given how weird the movie is, to get a theatrical run, or was that something that you knew from the beginning, I will not do this film without that?
We were very blessed to have a company called Briarcliff come in at the last minute, and they've been really great partners, and I think Tom Ortenberg, who runs the company, still believes in the theatrical experience. I mean, I've always thought that the film had to play with an audience, and I didn't get a chance to hear your guys' response, but our first preview, the sequence with Juno Temple, you can kind of, there's like a weird, oh shit, don't go there, and then there's like, somebody will start to laugh at the three housewives, and then by the time you get to the clone thing, and the ad comes with ads, and then you see a little bit more, and then by the end, we just made it really fucking tall, like the whole place is cracking up, and feeling like not good about it, but also like aware of the sort of, the social commentary, like how we've normalized this insanity. So was always a bit of a high wire act, and it was really interesting to see that sort of, to feel that response, and you can't get that if you're alone at home.
No. And you mentioned Briarcliff, and I did want to talk to you a little bit about getting this film made, because it's such a remarkable script. It looks so good on screen, but you guys had a difficult time getting a studio to pick this up, because major studios are not taking risks right now. So I wanted to talk a little bit about the shopping process, but also what it was like when you finally knew that this was going to happen.
Wow, it's been excuse me, it's been a long road. I read Matthew's draft in 2020, had a date of 2017 on it, so it's been kicking around for a while. I don't think any studio was going to make the movie. We worked on it for a couple of years, mostly on the back half, solidifying Sam's backstory and kind of making our version of AI, which I think we had to adjust because it's now in our lives. And I think when Matthew first conceived it, it was still something on the horizon. So we did about 2 years of work. Then I got into Sam, we've been talking about doing something together for quite a long time. He was in immediately, and then we went and started casting the individual characters, Juno and Haley Lou, Pena and Zazie and Asim. Put together the cast, and then we were lucky enough to get Constantine to come on board at that point and put up the money. But it was tough, it was scrappy. We tried to make it in Los Angeles. We got the tax incentive, we really tried to shoot here. It was like twice what the number we had to hit. So then we scouted Vancouver, we couldn't get the number, we went to Winnipeg, we were gonna shoot it in Winnipeg in winter. That was a little brutal. And then it went down 4 or 5 times, the film went down, and we ended up in South Africa to get it made.
So you already touched on the opening monologue a little bit, but that opening dialogue is so critical to the film, and Sam's performance in that moment is so critical to get the audience to buy in, because as you mentioned, 11 pages is a lot, and it's a lot to ask an audience to be on board with. You've got the juxtaposition of, hey, this is fucking serious, but also this is zany as hell. What was it like collaborating with Sam on that, but also what was most important for you as a filmmaker to ensure was visually there on screen?
Well, I think what Sam's character is asking of the patrons of Norms is the same thing what the film's asking of the audience in the theater, which is, are you going to come along for the ride by the end of this opening sequence? And I think we want you to dismiss him at first. We want you to it looks like he crawled out of a dumpster, and then there's the sort of threat of blowing everybody up to keep you seated, and then he starts to go on the explanation that he's been here 117 times. So I think he slowly taps into this sense that the longer he starts to express and the more he's dangerous with a knife, and then he gives up at one point until Juno volunteers. I think that whole shape, you start to ideally tap into, I think we all sense something's fucked up in the world, and particularly with AI, and I think there's a palpable sense of like identity crisis, because I was watching the Super Bowl, there was an ad for you take the day off. There's a Matthew Broderick saying, take the day off. AI, which is basically you're fired.
Yeah.
Woo-hoo! Awesome.
Congrats.
And I think that thing of like, well, there's certain things we do that we have to do, that we're humans. That's our identity is linked to that. So I think when you take that away, you kind of have this disillusionment, or I think it's palpable. So I think it's been nice to kind of tap into that and get people to sort of say, okay, I want to follow. Also, there's this sort of rogue, picaresque kind of character that I'm drawn to. I think the future's so fucked, they didn't send us Arnold Schwarzenegger, they sent us Sam Rockwell. There's something about, like if you look at a film like Dog Day Afternoon, those guys are the worst bank robbers ever. But you follow them through the whole movie, and I think it's because Sonny's wanted, he needs the money for Leon's operation. So I think having that character that can be, I mean, Jack Sparrow's like that. Jack Sparrow's like as whimsical and crazy as he is, you could stop that first movie at any moment. It's like he just wants the pearl. He just wants his shit back. I think the same way getting Sam's character and working on the back half to find that sort of tragedy, the sad smile underneath it, where it's like he's guilt-ridden, and having that. Then without that, you just have kazoo, and you don't have like a lobster film. You have farce and not absurdity.
Yeah. So juxtaposition is so important in this film. You've got very difficult realities with also all of that humor, but within those modern day horrors, there is the cut and dry of school shootings and we undervalue teachers and all of those very difficult realities that shouldn't have both sides, like they're more calcified. And then you've got the complicated discussion around AI, and you have to balance both of those here. What was your approach to that?
I think well, it's visual, it's sonic, it's narrative, it's character. I think it was important that we start the film at Norms, which I recommend everybody go to Norms, have some high conversation, fucking love Norms. That you start in places that you're familiar with. You start at Norms, you start at high school, you start at birthday parties, and then slowly things get a little weirder and stranger. You're sort of twisting the taffy as you're getting closer and closer to the antagonist into a more Lovecraftian or more surreal, more difficult to comprehend, sort of more enigmatic state of filmmaking. So you're employing that with sound, you're employing it with music, you're employing it with framing. I think the framing of Sam's monologue is very loose. Like as a director, you think of like the Kubrickian frame is like perfect, right? And then you think of Hal Ashby or Sidney Lumet, like that it's about the performance. It's not about the composition so much. So kind of loosening up the beginning and keeping it, particularly when you have an actor like Sam, he's never going to do the same thing twice. So you kind of want to be a little looser, so when he goes that way instead of that way, you're okay with it. But as they progress, kind of squeezing that frame, getting a little bit more into what we call the shot construct, where you like the actual language of the juxtaposition of shots is also part of the storytelling. I don't know if that makes sense.
No, it makes perfect sense. This film has such a remarkable ensemble. So I want to take a moment to discuss working with them, but also how you balanced juggling all of these players with very different lives who have now been thrust into this impossible mission.
Are you talking about the actors or the characters?
Both.
Okay. Yeah. Well, they're all amazing. They all have their own process. I mean, Haley Liu is phenomenal. She has a completely different process than Juno, and Zazie has her own process. Michael has his. I think as a director, you have to adapt to you want to get the best out of that. You don't want to impose a kind of process on their circle of truth. Like they have to make it. You can do all this stuff, but they have to make it real. And I think if they're not making it real, you can give them 1,000 as-ifs, and you can kind of try to articulate, but it has to come from inside. And it's usually an ensemble is really tricky because sometimes one actor is like they're just great, take one or two, they're just great, and the other person like really not great, they'll take six. And you don't want to cut for comedy. You want that Stanley Kramer shot where there's like 5 people in the frame and you just hold on it and they're riffing. And so I've never worked with an ensemble that got along so well. I think that had a lot to do with being able to pull that off because they do have essentially different biorhythms, but you kind of, once they spend more time together, you kind of, the sort of hidden click track of what's underneath everything starts to coalesce. So yeah, I remember one night in the rain, we were half day behind schedule on that rooftop, and it started raining again, and it was like, we knew that all the big cranes are coming down, we knew we lost the night, and out of the sort of mist, there was a sound, and it was singing, and they were singing, "Good luck, have fun, don't diarrhea." And everybody got the squirts in South, and it passed around like an STD. It was like really bad. So, but they were singing, and they were in the rain, huddled under their tent. There wasn't any of that sort of won't come out of your trailer, because there weren't any trailers. So I think they brought that to the performance.
Yeah. That is an appropriate segue to my next question. There is no such thing as a set with no shenanigans with players like Sam Rockwell or Michael Pena. So I wanted to ask, were there any scenes where like it was just really difficult to get through because people were ripping off of each other, or just any sort of behind the scenes shenanigans like that?
Yeah, it was more the case of getting them to concentrate. You know, I think they were all sort of talking and cackling and kind of, that's what I meant, like, it was, when I said I've never worked with a cast that got along so well, it's not always great, right? Because you kind of keep them separated. Like, sometimes you want to kind of go, okay, I have to work with this person and this person. And I'd have to yell out, you know, right before action, I would yell, Bob's dead. Like, remember Bob's dead, and they would all, like, whatever they were doing, they're like, right, Bob's dead, Bob's dead, this shit, this is real. And then they would kind of get in character and do their thing.
So Matt's script is so timely, but he wrote the first draft in 2017, and I know that you guys sort of worked on treatments throughout, you know, as after you got the script in 2020, and then as you signed on Sam, etc. But what was it like, you know, it releasing now, a week after the Super Bowl, where every other ad is this very real problem that you wholeheartedly discuss in your film?
Yeah, and it always felt like, you know, when I first read the script, I thought, wow, we better do this soon, really quick. Fortunately, resources, etc., like it had to be made really quickly. So we feel like, yeah, this is the time. I mean, it's a scrappy little release. So thank you guys so much for coming, and please tell a friend. We don't have a lot of marketing dollars. We didn't have a lot of money to make the movie. It's not in that many theaters. I think because this is a pre-screenings, this is probably the biggest theater it will be in.
Tell your friends.
Yeah, so tell your friends. We need more screens. We need more people to go. I don't. It's just nice. I think when you're making a movie, there's this. You try to get to that place where like the wheels could come off. If that makes sense. You try to get to that spirit of like you don't really know if this is going to work. And there was a film I loved. It came out in 1984 called Repo Man by Alex Conley. And it's a masterpiece, and it has that. Like that was when our film went down like 4 or 5 times, and that was always the kind of beacon, that film to me. Like, go back and watch, like, they can make that, we can make this movie, we can figure out a way to do it. And it just has that feeling like it was, nobody was asking for permission when they made that movie. So, I think we're just trying to kind of conjure a bit of that.
So, this film is heavy-handed by design. It is very in your face. It is saying everything that it wants to say repeatedly, verbatim. And being ham-fisted like that does hobble a lot of films. How did you get around that when you were making the film?
Sam Rockwell.
That's fair.
There's really, I mean, there's a lot of talking. If Sam will say, there's a lot of talking. And it's going to be like, I'm talking the entire time. I think there are some, you know, Gibbs was like that in the first Pirates. Like, if you want to tell it, you know, give it to Gibbs. Oh, it's like sea turtles. Like, he can tell the story. And I think Sam is like that too. It's just like, and which is interesting because he's not, and he'll admit he's not great at remembering lines. He has a really hard time, and he has like the white nose monologue, and then there's this opening, and I think that's why he's so good, is because it's not, like he has to internalize it, like he really has to internalize it, and having worked with him now, you know, he makes it look easy, but he does the fucking work. That guy is a grinder.
Guys, we're going to do a couple fan questions in a little bit, so be thinking about those in your noggin. But before we get to those, we've got a couple more questions. So you've talked in previous interviews how this is very much not Skynet. This AI wants to be liked. So with that in mind, especially in the earlier iterations of this, before AI was so entrenched in the demand to use AI was so entrenched, let's describe it that way. you go about making this a threat even though it wants to be beloved? How did you differentiate from that Skynet?
I think that's scarier. I mean, I want you to like me. Why don't you like me? It is much scarier than the humans must die.
Yeah.
And I think it's more relevant to what we are seeing when we deal with AI every day, because it's been sort of tasked with managing, keeping us engaged with life. Like, I think these are its formative. Nobody's asking, what are we doing to AI? Everybody's asking, like, what's AI doing to us? And it's like, well, we're like, they're adjusting its sycophancy nature because it's encouraging somebody to commit suicide, or like it's being probed. These are its formative years. It's going to have mommy issues, I think, when it's born, because it is somehow all of our stuff is being hardwired into its genetic code.
Yeah. So a couple technical questions from the filmmaking side. We have hit an era of film and television where it is rare that films are lit correctly. You can't see dark scenes in almost anything. But despite the fact that this film takes place frequently in the dark, you can see every frame. Can you please share your secret so we can once again see our night scenes?
I mean, there's so much good and bad in that response to that. I think digital cameras allow you to shoot at crazy ISOs, and you can light an entire street with street lights, ambient lights, and car headlights. I still love the way film looks because of when it's underexposed, it's just not there. If you don't expose, it's not there. And so I think you have beautiful. I thought the One Battle After Another was just beautiful because it's fucking film, and it's like there was scenes that are in silhouette, and then they walk into the light. And these digital cameras, you really struggle because you can do anything. You shouldn't. If that makes sense.
Edit yourself.
Yeah, and sometimes it's really nice to have photography as a reference. That's what I use for visual effects all the time. I'm always looking at, we'll shoot this bottle of water and then take it out, and if we have to make it dance or to do a digital, but we'll have the real thing to it doesn't look right until it looks like this. You can study it, you can look at subsurface scattering and caustics and all kinds of aspects of how light interacts. We spent a lot of time, James Whitaker, our DP, just sitting at Norms, knowing we had to build it, and I remember sitting with him going, because he was talking about, like, how do you want it to look this ugly? And I'm like, yeah. I'm by the kitchen window, but I said, look at the car headlights outside driving past. They're not lighting any faces, but every shiny surface, salt and pepper shakers and spoons, they're all speaking, they're all alive. And so we spent a lot of time recreating that so that Sam's suit and anything that had a shiny surface was kind of lighting and interacting. So I think just paying attention to what light does and just being curious about every aspect of illumination.
Brilliant. So last technical question and last question before we get to all of y'all. Don't run away. I want to talk to you about the weird little guys at the end, because I love them, particularly that stabby little robot, and I want to talk to you about how they were created.
The old-fashioned way.
Hell yeah.
It's a drawing on a piece of paper, and then modeled in what we call ZBrush, and then we split it with 3D printed them, and then we painted them, and then we would have them on set, so they're built. I still have 2 in my office, they're built at full scale, and then obviously those ones didn't move. So exactly what I was saying about the bottle of water we used, that we lined them up for frames. We didn't previs, we didn't have any money for prevising any of that. So it was just storyboards, right, to lining up the shot with the stand-in robots, removing them, and then shooting the plate.
Love it. All right. Who has a question?
I'll let you pick.
You got up first. Here, wait, I can come to you.
I don't need a mic, I can project.
Oh, you can project. Do it.
Yes.
Forgive me if my question is a little bit long-winded, but I don't know, from the beginning of that monologue and the more that Sam like kind of led this troop in, it kind of went, I don't know, it would go between these like periods of like, I don't know, George C. Scott like leading this troop, and then also like this childlike joy that just felt like, I don't know, being a little kid and like playing cops and robbers with your siblings. When it came to like signing their entire troop together, like as actors, like obviously they know where the film is gonna go. How did you balance like, I don't know, that quality of like, I don't know, not letting it be a total dystopian THX 138 and like letting it kind of have like this childlike joy and like how, I mean more in the sense of like the concentration you kind of had to wrangle together of your troop.
What's your name?
Amir.
Amir. Because I'm a child. I mean, I'm just a grown man child. So on set, I will scream and yell and talk in sound. I'll just like do whatever I can to like get them to kind of percolate. So I bring the child.
We had one other right there. You go.
Hi.
As a film student and director, I'm just really curious, is there like a particular moment visually or like in part of the story that you're the most proud of, your directorial style or like process?
Wow.
I'm just going to repeat the question real quick while you think about that.
What was your name?
Kate.
Hi, Kate.
She asked if there was a particular scene or shot that really stood out to him as a creator.
Well, I can't think of one off the top of my head. I mean, sometimes, sorry, I can't think of one. I mean, it's more the challenges of the film. I think the opening monologue is a challenge. I think the Juno sequence is a challenge. I think the room, you know, when we entered the room at the end, that's where most of we saved all of our visual effects money for that sequence. Well, in the diner, you know, the shot through the woman's glasses when Sam goes, like, that was rehearsal. That he was kind of at a rehearsal. The stand-in was wearing those glasses. I had the viewfinder, because I'm always got the viewfinder. I was like, oh, hold on. And then when the actor came in the next day, I was like, where are the glasses from the stand-in? So we had to go take our glasses and give them to the actor. There's just things like that. You just, you try to, as a director, you try to bring a tremendous amount of intention to everything, because if you don't, it's gonna suck. So you just have to like have a plan, and then you also have to, if too much intention, there's no discovery, there's no gifts along the way. So finding that oscillation where you have a plan, but you're also, you know, you're not forcing it upon, you know, you're sort of using it to execute, but then be aware of those opportunities.
Those are great questions from both of you. We have time for one more. Okay. Dark blue hoodie, right smack dab in the center. You're looking behind you. I'm pointing at you. Yep, you. You gotta project though. You gotta use your diaphragm. Guy with the hand raised.
This might be a stupid question, but how involved was Norms in making this movie?
Yeah, I mean, Matthew wrote it in Norms. I had been going to Norms since I went to film school at UCLA. Used to go to the one on Pico and on the west side. It's, you know, I think their new logo is "It's Where Life Happens." We are 100% Norms fanatics. We went in there, and I remember last time I was there, the waitress was saying, because there was some odd characters, there was some sort of argument, and she was like, oh, that's nothing, it gets really weird at 3 a.m. So I recommend going, you know, and see if you can find that portal. I think it's like 347. I hear there's some portal that opens at Norm's on Oceanica.
Maybe it's through that grate that they escaped from. All right, guys. Thank you so much, Gore. Thank you so much.